Chris Lipe here. How to sing like Thom Yorke, Radiohead. Thom Yorke is a fantastic vocalist. He has an excellent range, interesting and compelling tone and control. And Thom Yorke uses compression, dynamics, and mixed voice in some pretty fundamental ways, but the way he combines everything creates an incredibly unique sound. A lot of people have gone down the road of imitating him, and they don't end up sounding like the real thing, and we should not try to imitate either. We are not trying to sound like Thom Yorke, but we are going to try and sing like him. Do things that he does, approach singing, compression, vowels, larynx position, stuff like that. We're going to approach things the way that he does and infuse what he does into our own voice and be inspired by it. And rather than jumping right into song samples, let's get some positioning and some tonal things going by connecting two seemingly completely unrelated things. We're going to take a cue from The Wicked Witch.
I'll get you, my pretty.
I'll get you, my pretty. I'll get you, my pretty.
Now, there's a lot going on here that we, through these samples, I'm going to be referring back to The Wicked Witch in order to help you understand that this stuff, the stuff that Thom Yorke and many other vocalists do, they're connected to these types of impressions. But being able to get down an impression like this and do things with our voice in a certain way and connect the feel that we experience, then taking it to the musical context, it's way less pressure than, oh, Thom Yorke, he's got this otherworldly sort of sound. I like to refer to Thom Yorke, and I've thought of this for a long time, I like to refer to him as the sedated witch. That is, if Chris Cornell is a dying cat, Thom Yorke is a sedated witch. And there's similarities between some of these things, but again, it's perspective, it's mind tricks. Our minds are in control of our singing, and we are going to free our singing by freeing our perspectives, by freeing our minds. So,
Ow! Ow!
Now, we start out
Ow!
with this very bright and she's doing it too. You can hear it, even though it's a female doing it. As males, we can get this. This is a high larynx position, highly compressed. It's not and then she lets herself go into her head resonance. You can hear that little break. But it's a smooth.
I'll get you, my pretty. My pretty.
And there's even some grit there in the end, which is another interesting thing to unpack. But
I'll get you.
This bright sound is totally the positioning that Thom Yorke uses. He uses less intensity a lot of times, but there's this sedated intensity that you're going to see as we get into some of these examples. So, high larynx, highly compressed, bright, face out of the way, teeth. And then even this, and I've covered this sort of thing in different contexts on other videos, this idea that we are going to start in primarily chest resonance, and then we're going to push up into head resonance.
I'll get you, my pretty. I'll get you, my pretty. I'll get you, my pretty.
I mean, you can singify that pretty easily, and you can start hearing little bits of other vocalists that you've heard. So we'll talk more about The Witch as we go through some of these other examples. Now, this stuff that I'm talking about, compression, tone control, is all a function of having basic singing techniques and mindsets down. If you go about doing some of this stuff without understanding basic singing mechanics and mindsets, you're not going to have much success. You're going to be frustrated. You're going to go down the road of imitation. So don't do that. Be sure to join my free vocal course linked below to get a solid foundation on these foundational singing techniques. And then you'll be able to get even more out of videos like this. Example 1. All right, he's holding out a note. We have a really good front row seat at his tone.
I'll get you. I'll get.
Compression, this is a lot of support, a lot of push coming from here, and then holding back air with the area above our primary vocal cords.
And brightening up at the same time. What's there?
Now, there's really not any vibrato. He has a nice sweet tone, even in the midst of this compression, this bright sound. It's not, what's there? It's not that. It's held back air, what, and bright, and a high larynx position.
What's there?
Straight. Really a nice sound. Next. Now this example's great because he starts in pure head resonance. Now without any break at all, he transfers down to... Now, I would argue that Thom Yorke is always using a mixed approach. Always. That's part of what gets him this sound. He's never really... Well, some of the older stuff, you can tell he's thinking in a more and operating in a more chest resonance sort of thing. We'll get there. But listen to how this transition happens. There's no break, and the way he floats on those notes, voices in my head. Now, I did it more obvious there, transferring resonances. I'm going to try to clean that up a little bit. Voices in my head. Voices in my head. Wonderful way to think about coming down that line and blending and being musical. I love this line. Voices in my head. All head voice. Voices in my head. We can get even more ridiculous with it. Of course, I'm taking things to extremes, but that's what we want to do. When we be inspired, take it to an extreme and come up with some interesting ways to work with what he's done. Voices in my head. Next. Okay, lower notes here. Super lazy, super sedated. Kicking, screaming, not kicking, screaming. There's this sense of pent-up energy. It's exactly what it is. It's compression, kicking, high larynx position, high bright face, kicking, screaming, kicking, screaming. Kicking, screaming, kicking, screaming, Gucci little piggy, Gucci little piggy, Gucci little piggy, kicking, screaming, Gucci little piggy. you can actually hear what you can hear that pent up aggression in the midst of that sedated sound as he approaches the end of that line. Piggy, piggy, kicking, screaming, Gucci, little piggy. Cool stuff. Now, you can hear, to go back to the witch, it's even though he's low, he's highly compressed and he's bright. I'll get you. I'll get you. We'll have more of that in a little while. But keep that in mind, that even though he's low, there is this, if I were to just talk like it, it would be kind of like kicking, screaming, kicking, Gucci little piggy, Gucci little piggy, kicking, screaming, Gucci little piggy. Next. Well, first of all, what resonance is he using? I think it's probably mainly head. He's very soft, and this example is really an interesting one because it's breathy. He actually has a good amount of chord closure, so it's not this falsetto, high airflow through. Again, there's this element of compression here. Even though it sounds breathy and could be considered falsetto, it's not. Everything would be falsetto. It's certainly breathy, but there's not the power behind it. Instead, he's using good chord closure in head voice, and then he's using his area above his larynx and compression, partially false chord engagement, in order to get this sound. So, there it is. That's more of a head chest blend as opposed to there we go. And then to add the breathiness, he pinches off the air. Everything, 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 as opposed to everything, everything. It allows him to hold the note longer, because if I were doing this with open airflow and falsetto, everything, I can't hold it as long as everything, everything. And I'm cracking a little bit there as I'm dialing it in. As you're dialing it in, make sure you do that too. Let yourself feel those things so that you can get the sound that you want to get by ping-ponging back and forth through different feels. No, if you're afraid to do that, there's no other way you're going to get these sounds dialed in. Everything. Very cool stuff. Next. Now. Same note, but he has dialed up the compression. Same positioning. Listen to the last one. Everything, everything, everything. And here. Everything. Right? Everything. 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 Now, he's not doing everything. Everything. I'll get you. That's an I. It's purely an I. Everything. So it's getting that vowel placed right. Not so forward that it ends up it's not an E. It's back a little bit more mid-tongue. Everything. 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 And even in that note that he goes down to, you can hear that whine, that witch sound. Highly compressed, not compressed, more compressed, bright and higher larynx, and you get that everything. You can do some fun things if you'd use this as a starting point. Everything. Fun stuff. Fun, inspirational stuff. Next.
This is what you get.
Now this one, he's low, but listen to his tone.
This is what you...
This is, it's so gooberish.
This is what...
This is what... Bright, like I've been saying, but I can't overstate enough this compressed high larynx. It's choked. This is what you get.
This is what you get.
Get, not. This is what you get. This is what you get. There's some cry. We've talked about cry before. So thinking cry is definitely helpful. A crying sedated witch. You can definitely hear the sedation here.
This is what you get.
You get. And you can hear some breathiness, some breakup in his voice. That's just, he's not trying to do that. That's a product of the way he's operating and the setting, the passion that he's in this particular line. Next. Now, looks like the real thing. She looks like the real thing. Now, here, real. Looks like the real. It's not doing that. It's much more of an A. Looks like the real thing. I'll get you. I'll get you, my pretty. Looks like the real. But then relax. Remember, it's a sedated witch. Looks like the real thing. She looks like the rail. That rail is placed very forward. That's a belt. So that invisible ball of energy in the very front, and make your teeth vibrate. She looks like the real thing. Highly compressed. When I'm singing in this style, I am pushing from my diaphragm a lot, and I'm holding back the potential energy that's down there to get this energetic, pent-up sound, which is what he's doing. Next. Just crumbles. I love this because he's going just. Now let's take that to an extreme. Just crumb. And I'm closing things up so much up there and holding back so much air that I get that nice breakup, right? Just crumble! We could do that. It's the same mechanisms, just with more compression, right? That's not involving my primary vocal cords. We can get there pretty easily, but that's not what he's doing, although he's using the same mechanisms, which is really neat to think about. Just crumble. Just crumble. And then he lets that pent-up energy out as he transfers clearly to his head resonance. There is an unapologetic break there, unlike some of the other ones he's doing. Just crumble. Just crumble. Oh, just crumble. Oh, yeah, just crumble.
just crumbles, just crumbles, just.
Now, but there's far more sedation, and I have to remind myself when I'm getting into Thom Yorke mode, I tend to, almost go the Gerard way. Just crumble. That'd be more like a Gerard Way or Tyler Joseph, where we are that crying, anxious. He doesn't sound anxious. He sounds sedated.
Just crumble, just crumble, just crumble, just crumble.
Next.
Don't, highly compressed, don't.
Now let's take this to an extreme. Don't leave me high. Don't leave me high. Which how I would just sing it if I were not caring about the inspiration I'm drawing from Thom Yorke. Don't more compression high.
I'll get you. I'm going to imitate the witch. I'll get you, my pretty. I'll. Don't. Dial it back. Dial it. Yeah, don't. Don't leave me so compressed there, relaxed. Don't leave me high. Don't leave me high. Don't leave me high. Don't leave me high. And then just let yourself go. There's really a knot. There's no reason once you break into that high head to remain compressed. That's not going to get you what you want. If you do remain highly compressed, that's going to smooth that breakout more than you want to. Don't leave me high. That's not what we want. Don't leave me high. We want, don't leave me high. Don't leave me high. You can still smooth it out, but it's that airflow management that's going to get you that dynamic that you want. Next.
I want a perfect soul.
Want a perfect soul. I'll get you. I'll get you, my pretty. Want a perfect soul. I want a perfect soul. Still highly compressed, even when he's down there in the dumps, right? I want a perfect soul. I want a perfect soul. Not that at all. I want a perfect soul. 'Cause I'm a creep.
Next. Ooh. Now here, this is where I think the Wicked Witch really comes into play. Even though it is it's less like that than some of the other examples. We're doing this build in intensity, so we can exaggerate it to get this sort of I'll get you. Be on that teetering point of
I'll get you, my pretty.
Get on that teetering point and rest in that.
I'll get you. Run.
Now he sounds darker here. So once we go to this, bring our larynx back a little bit, or down. Maintain the compression. Run.
And we do get that darker, yet highly mixed, highly compressed, aggressive, yet sedated sound. It's desperate sounding, right? Run, 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 got a perfect soul. Creep, run, 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 run. Now, this leads into the last example. Really a great note. And he approaches it with a bit of an H, if you listen. Run! Run! And he rounds it out as it goes on, which is really neat. Run! Playing with it, use his as a starting point and then get into it and see what your voice does as you round it out a little bit by lowering your larynx, maintain that amount of compression. Just see what happens. Don't limit your voice to having to sound like what he's doing. That's what makes this so fun, is we can use this as a starting point and then go beyond. Run, 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 run. Run, 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 run. Thanks so much for watching this breakdown of Thom Yorke's singing style. I love making these videos. Be sure to leave in the comments below other singers you'd like me to dissect. And again, if you want to take your voice to yet another level, really make sure you've got the foundational elements of singing built into your voice. Be sure to click the link below and join my free vocal course. We'll see you for more.